Hey guys, welcome back to Straightforward Farming. Well, we got a good start on harvest last week. We picked probably 110 acres of corn roughly. It was coming out of the field at an average of 20.3% moisture, and it was running right at 200 bushels an acre, so we were happy with that. We did have one farm that flopped a little bit, had too much water, but it wasn't totally unexpected. It was maybe a little worse than we thought, but it just, one of them deals on a wet year like this, you've always got to expect a little damage on that particular farm, and we definitely had it. So we did try to cut a few beans on Friday. They were still a little too wet, so we decided to hold off on that, give them a few more days. So we're just kind of waiting in the wings here, letting everything dry down a little bit. I had 6 tenths of rain at my house last night, and we had 2 tenths here at the main farm, so there won't be any harvesting going on today. So today we're going to get the drill in the shed and go over it. We're going to plant 13 acres of wheat this year. It'll be the first wheat we've planted in probably 10 years, I would say, or close to it. It's been several years. Yeah, we got some dirt work we got to do next summer, and it's just too hectic in the spring and the fall trying to get excavators in here to get your projects done. So it's just easier to just plant it to wheat. Then you got all summer to get it done. It just makes it a lot easier. So we'll get the old Case IH in the shed here and see if it needs anything and give her a good once over. I tell you what, it always makes you wonder what some people actually do with their equipment. We bought this drill on an auction in like 2013 or 14 roughly, and I mean it was just destroyed, and we knew it when we bought it. I mean, we looked it all over. I thought, well, if we can get it bought cheap enough, we'll just buy it and rebuild it, because you just couldn't find a good drill around here anywhere. And we don't need nothing big, you know. We use this more for sowing waterways or, you know, just stuff like that than we actually use it for planting wheat. So it's like we don't need no $30,000 drill for what we're going to do. So we ended up buying it on the auction, and we rebuilt the whole thing, put all new no-till coulters on it, double disc openers, and even these seed cups back here. Half of these were just busted and all but ripped off. I mean, it just makes you wonder, you know, what people do with their equipment. I mean, it was just destroyed. I couldn't believe it. Like I say, we knew it, you know, when we bought it, but it's like, how do you even do that? And then some of the arms up there on the no-till coulters, some of these arms right here was all bent and twisted and just, I mean, it looked like it'd been through a war zone. I don't know. Luckily, we found a Case IH dealer that had a whole bunch of them cups on a shelf. They'd had a drill come in, I don't know if it was an insurance deal or what, and was just going to end up parting it out. So they ended up saving all them cups, and we was able to get them, and it's a good drill now. I mean, yeah, we got some money in it, you know, after we bought it and then ended up rebuilding it, but, you know, it ought to last us 25 years or more. I mean, for no more than we run it. So I don't know. I just get a kick out of some people. They're really hard on stuff, but I don't know, to each his own, I guess.
Consistency and efficiency make it the right choice for 2021. There will be pent-up demand and run all season long. Take the time. Okay, so training hard, what does that look like for you? Because we're about a year away from how Ag Explorers help grow. As an I Feel Smart, also farming at 422 bushels of corn that he made last year. Most of Drew's neighbors made try to come in as partners and understand he's using the product correctly at the right time. But, you know, when you think about the things that
Well, I think the only problem I found is I got a flat tire right here. I do remember now that thing's got a slow leak in it. I think I'm just going to pull it off of there and get it fixed and be done with it. One of these days we'll forget about it and you'll go to the field with it and that thing will be flat. So I think I'll just get her fixed. So we got the drill done, took the tire into town to get it worked on, and we are now cutting beans. I was finally able to get started cutting beans yesterday, so we cut 85 acres. They're just barely ready. They're running right around 13%, which is right where you want them, but usually beans are 10% by the time you start cutting. So they're just kind of barely ready. We got that 85 cut yesterday. We're gonna try to cut another 55 today, I think. Get that done, and then we're gonna be kind of waiting in the wings a little bit here till we see if we got anything else ready. Tomorrow's forecast is a little iffy. No sun at all, maybe just a little bit of wind, and that's usually not what you want for bean cutting. You can't get them to haul out. They just never recover from the dew overnight. So I'm gonna finish greasing the combine. We gotta move an auger from the corn dryer over to the bean bin. Get that done. Give the drill one final look over because we're gonna be sowing some wheat later on today. So get all this wrapped up and hopefully by then we can head to the field. So yesterday there, was cutting along and we got a little shower rain come through, so we stopped for a little bit and I got out and was just kind of looking the combine over, and thank God I had it parked just right where the wind was blowing at me, and I smelled what I thought was like a rotten egg smell, and boy, just immediately it hit me, you know, battery. So I went around to the other side of the combine. Well, sure enough, there's a drain tube and I had a battery that was boiling over, and boy, it was smoking and steaming and whatnot. So out of the blue, one of the cells in the batteries took a shit, and of course it was kind of shorting out, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, it didn't cause no fire or nothing, but thank God that rain come through because I was able to stop, check things over, and I smelled it, so we was able to shut down while we was waiting on the beans to dry back out and get some new batteries in it. So luckily it wasn't no major deal, but I'm glad we caught it when we did. Well, let's see if the old 40-20 will start. This old gal don't like cold weather. I've got a neighbor coming up. He's wanting to borrow the tractor and drill. He's going to sow some rye, so we'll get that fired up for him and pulled up here by the door. And hell, it'll actually work out better, I guess. Shouldn't be nothing wrong with it, but I guess if he uses it first, he'll find if there's any problems with it, which I hope he don't have any problems, but he'll know if we do, I guess. I'm gonna go ahead and put the Draper on before we go to the field. I'll show you guys a couple of spots you always want to watch for on a Draper as far as daily routine maintenance. One of the big things you always want to check for is right here. You can't hardly see it with this center auger, but this is where that belt comes around and it comes back across the top. So right here is where it's changing directions, you know, the bottom, then it's coming up and going back across the top. Well, a lot of times you can get debris built up right in here between the belt and this little plate here, and it'll just keep getting bigger and bigger, and it'll just make a big wad in there. And you want to keep all that cleaned out so you don't stretch your belt or tear it or things like that. So luckily today there's nothing in it, but it's usually pretty common to get stuff kind of hairpinned up around this big roller right here. So you always want to keep that cleaned out. And here's the one on the other side. Yeah, it looks good, but usually that'll be a big wad of stuff. And they, typical John Deere, they give you what they call their handy dandy little crop removal tool. It's just a flat piece of metal with a hook on it, and you're supposed to reach in there and kind of dig that out. It can be kind of a bastard to get to, but luckily today we don't have any of that. So I'm going to pick it up, and there's a big door down here on the center of the head. I'm going to open that because it'll kind of get some debris in it too. And you always want to keep everything away from them belts. You want them belts just flowing nice and even without any obstructions in the way that could tear them or things like that. So yeah, you want to clean this big door out here, oh, on a daily basis. I mean, it ain't like it's that hard. You just flip a couple of pins, but see, as that fills up with dirt, it'll just keep getting fuller and fuller and fuller, and then it'll start rubbing on your belt as that belt's spinning through there. It can tear your belt up. So yeah, on a Draper, it's maybe not necessarily more maintenance as far as fixing and adjusting. It's higher maintenance as far as keeping everything cleaned out so the head can work. You just don't want anything in here that's going to rub on them belts as them belts are turning. Here's what the underneath side of a Draper looks like. So obviously that's the front of the head, the direction of travel. So it's pretty open underneath. And then that's your center belt that's bringing it back into the feeder house. And you're back into regular belts again. Now this is just a 30-foot head, so we've only got 3 belts total on the whole head. You get the 35, 40, and 45. Then they've got 2 side belts. I'll show you. So on a Deere head, anything bigger than a 30, when you start here at your center belt, it'll come down to, you know, I don't know what the exact measurement is, but it would come down to like right here, and there'd be a gap here. So you have a belt here and a belt here. So it'd be 2 belts on this side of the combine, 2 belts on that side of the combine, plus the one in the center. On anything bigger than a 30 on a John Deere. I'm not sure MacDon, them others, I don't think they're that way, but a Deere is. But with us being 30 foot, it's just 3 belts total. 1 on each side, 1 in the middle. Another thing they tell me that is a must-have on a Draper, and I don't know because this was the first Draper I ever ran, but you see how these teeth on the reel here are pointed straight down? So on a John Deere auger head and even some of the first Drapers, as them teeth were coming around, they were always pointing down. They were on a swivel, so they were always going like that, pointing down. Now, as you can see on this Draper, this is what you call a flip over reel. So these teeth here, they'll change a little bit of direction, but not much. So let me get back here and see. So if you see up there, see how them teeth are almost pointing straight up at the sky? So they hardly ever move. They're always up, and then as the reel comes around, they come around and they just keep facing up like that. They call that a flip over reel. And I can actually see where that does benefit you, because there's a lot of times if you get in big, tall, rank beans, you know, beans will be piled up this high on that belt sometimes. And as that reel comes around, it just keeps pushing them back into the back wall there, and then it grabs a big wad and it just wraps and makes a mess. So they say these flip over reels are a must, but I've never ran one with a regular reel. Some of the other things you want to check on a daily basis is your belt tension right here. Make sure the belt's good and tight. On a 30 foot, there's just one on each side. I think on a 35 and 40, obviously with there being two belts, you've got two of them on each side to check. I checked the sickle last night. So these are called sickle sections. You can see there, they're sharp, got teeth on the sides. So them are called sections, and these are called guards. And you can break either or. Sometimes you'll only break the guard, sometimes you'll only break the section. And on a deer head, there's two different styles. So right here, this is one guard. So you got two longs and a short. The next one beside it, two shorts and a long. And they just keep alternating all the way down through there. And then in the middle, this is where the sickles overlap. So right here, you can't see it here. So yeah, these two guards right here. So this guard is attached to that 15 foot, or I'm sorry, that sickle section. And then that section there is attached going that 15 foot. So these actually overlap in the middle. That's why that looks so funny like that. And check your auger fingers. Them metal fingers can break off. Knock on wood, luckily I haven't had any break off. And the same way down in there, you can kind of see a little bit of dirt. I'm gonna crawl in there, dig that out. These ain't too bad until you get them wet. If they set out in the rain a bunch, once you ran them a bunch, all that stuff gets matted down, then it's just harder to get off. But most of this stuff, you can just take your hand and brush it and it'll come right off. Well, we got done cutting where we was at this morning, so now we're headed 16 miles west. Got 70 acres over here to cut. Well, it's about time to light her up, I'd say. So you can see These deers, they light up pretty good. I mean, they're not excellent, but pretty good visibility. I can't complain. I know I rode with a guy, well, Mike, the bean cutting video there from the Case IH equipment a few weeks ago. I rode with him last year picking corn, and he's got LED lights on that combine, and holy cow, you talk about making a difference. Them things really work nice. Like to have a set, but boy, are they expensive. So I don't know if you guys remember a couple of videos back, I showed you that shark fin, we call it, down there in the center of the head. And that's about what it looks like. But you can see how them beans are hitting right there and stopping. There's a big piece of metal in there, and it's doing exactly what it's supposed to. That's to keep beans from coming off of this belt and going all the way over and underneath that belt and making a big mess. They hit that shark fin and go right in. You can see there how it stops them. So it works pretty good. Works just as advertised. Tell you what, boys, we got a game changer here. A little deal called the Hot Logic Mini. Go to Amazon, check it out. 35 bucks. Plug that into your cigarette lighter. It don't matter what you put in there. Frozen food, pizza rolls, I mean, it don't matter. Frozen or not. Throw her in there at 8 o'clock in the morning. Plug her in, and by noon it's so hot you can't even eat it. Works great. I ended up, the co-op was serving pork burgers for customer appreciation, so I ended up eating pork burgers for dinner. So now I'm having chicken and dumplings for supper. Man, it's phenomenal. Well, we got moved over here yesterday afternoon. We're 16 miles from home. We got 145 acres of corn here. It's not quite ready yet. We got 70 acres of beans here. We started on, we got about half of them cut last night. And today's forecast is not very good. There's virtually no sun, no wind, chance of on and off showers this afternoon. So I think rather than pull our hair out and be standing around all day wondering if we can go or if not, and running back and forth 16 miles over here checking these beans, we're just gonna pull the plug till Monday. Next week's forecast is really good, so I think it's better to just wait, because like I say, you'll pull your hair out this far from home. Are they ready? Are they not? Run all the way over here and then they're not, and it ain't worth it. So I'm gonna pull the drain plugs on the combine in case it does come a shower, and we're gonna call it good till Monday. So that'll be it for this week's video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We'll see you guys next week in the thick of harvest.